And ceremonies celebrating the life and legacy of former U.S. First Lady Rosalynn Carter have been scheduled in her home state of Georgia. The wife of former U.S. President Jimmy Carter died Sunday at the age of 96. The Carter Center says that the former First Lady will lie in repose next Monday at the Jimmy Carter Presidential Library and Museum in Georgia. The public has been invited to pay their respects. A funeral service will take place 2 days later for family and close friends. And many people are remembering the former First Lady for her work on destigmatizing mental illness in both the U.S. and abroad. On a personal note, I was a 2020-2021 Rosalynn Carter Fellow for Mental Health Journalism. And joining me now to talk about continuing this important work is Eve Bird, the director of the Carter Center's Mental Health Program. Eve, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and sincerest condolences. So first off, can you talk about the work and legacy of the former First Lady and why she chose to highlight mental health?
Hi, Bakari. Great to see you this morning. Thanks for your reporting on mental health. Mrs. Carter is a deeply compassionate and sensitive person, and very early on in her campaign with President Carter, when he was campaigning for governor of Georgia, she came in contact with persons who shared their challenges in caring for persons with mental illness and disabilities. There's not anyone that she doesn't connect with deeply, and she was decided then that it would be her lifelong work.
What did Mrs. Carter say about the progress that has been achieved over the years?
Mrs. Carter was an extraordinarily hopeful person, but also realistic. And she very much noticed the changes when she was in the governor's mansion and then in the White House. She had real difficulty getting people to talk about the importance of mental health and caring for people.
What type of conversations? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and she recognized that through the journalism program and others, that people were referring to mental illness properly. She saw legislation pass in her time, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Along
with that, what type of conversation should we be having when it comes to mental health in our everyday lives? And also, you know, when we see someone suffering who may be living on the street?
Barry, as you know, language is really important, and then the way we think. Our stigma and our discriminatory behaviors are very entrenched, and we have to make a conscious effort when we see somebody who is struggling, just as we would with somebody with any kind of illness, that we stop ourselves and recognize that with the right treatment and supports, this person too could become well and live in a life of recovery. We also have to look very closely at all of policies and regulations that have really concretized this discriminatory behavior.
Okay, and Eve, we only have a few seconds left. What's the clarion call to further Mrs. Carter's work here in Canada and around the world?
Kari, Mrs. Carter's message has always been straightforward and compassionate. Every human deserves the right to be treated with dignity and respect and provided the medical care that they need to live a life of recovery and achieve their potential. So we just need to continue the hard work.
Eve Bird, the director of the Carter Center's Mental Health Program. Eve, thank you very much for your time this morning, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Bakari.